Okay, I guess the hangout has started. Okay, I'm just gonna get into this, folks. This is a big year for Sonic the Hedgehog. It's not very often any franchise gets to 25 years young. Um, I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of have to take a step back and think the fact that he's come this far. Um, from Sonic 1 to Sonic Adventure to Sonic Heroes, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, and now and the possibility of Sonic Adventure 3. Posting something to the book. Like I say, it is difficult as to what Sega will do. Now, a friend of mine, some of you may know him, he goes by the name of the Prince of Moose. If you're listening, how are you, buddy? Sega have got this annoying jinx that they need to shake off in regards to Sonic, and that anytime an anniversary reaches anything with the number 5 in, things don't go so well for the Hedgehog with attitude. One example that not too many people are aware of, 96, which would have been which was Sonic's 5th anniversary, they were supposed to release Sonic Extreme for the Sega Saturn. And, the game had a interesting premise, and I've seen concept art and a few very sketchy clips of what the game would have looked like, and it looked all right. But for whatever reason, it got canned. And let's just get this out of the way right now. Yes, Sonic 360 back in 2006 was a train wreck. And I've said this so often. Probably since 2009, 2010, the fact that people are still talking about this game. I did technically 2 retrospects. Most people that know back in 2011, I put Blue Reflections version 1 up onto my YouTube page at the time, chronicling 20 years of Sonic the Hedgehog. And then I did a second version a year later, but because I'd had Sony Vegas by that point, I wanted to do the retrospect in a way that I had originally intended. And for the most part, it did go the way I wanted it, and I am honestly considering re-uploading that. But given how it's real close to Sonic's 25th anniversary, I might just be uploading a brand new version, which will be adding on the 5 years since Sonic Generations. And I know I'm procrastinating, and and I can hear people like, "Get on with it, yes, get on with it," and all that jazz. So I can never understand why people so many years later continue to beat a dead horse, and beat the dead horse to the point where there's not even any bones left, which is Sonic 360. I call it Sonic 360 because it was the first Sonic game to come out on the Xbox 360, and to me it sounds better than saying Sonic 06, because to me that's just generic. But your mileage may vary. I can never understand why people would continue to go back and back and back And there are forums, whether it be Facebook or forums outside of Facebook, people are still talking about this game today. I don't get it. You know, is there something that's so mesmerizing and redeeming about this game that I just don't see the finer qualities of? Because the game I played was buggy, story was asinine, visuals were good, soundtrack was decent. I think Eliza Cuthbert was the only one that really put any emotion or effort into her dialogue as Princess Elise, which she's become, the character in itself has become somewhat infamous amongst the Sonic community. But then again, depending on who you talk to. And for me, I walked away from that game because I'm like, yeah, I didn't have fun playing this game. I walked away from it once. I'm not going back to it. I will be covering it again for the 25th anniversary retrospect that I'm working on, but only because it's one of those things, because it was a main storyline Sonic game, it's one of those things you can't get away from it. So, I mean, I'd like to avoid this thing like Sonic Spinball, but anyway. To me, logic is simple. The more you talk about something that you dislike, it actually says you like it. Whereas if you go to talk about something you genuinely love, you can't stop talking about it, you praise this game to the heavens and back, and that to me is something more worth talking about. Because to this day, I don't understand why people don't, I've even tried to stop some people and say, hey, wait, whoa. Look at Unleashed. Look at the game's mechanics of this game. Look at the story. Look at the fact that it's just Sonic by himself. Look at the fact that there's a much richer and replayable gaming experience that Sonic 360 back in 06 simply does not offer. I don't know. As for the reviewers who continue to review it, I put up a rant a few years ago questioning why people still do it. Kind of got chewed out for it. I'm not going to go naming names, but hey, it's your thing. But if that were me, I'd have moved on from it by now. But, what would I know? I just deal in logic and good ideas. But now to the subject of what this live stream is supposed to be doing, and that is simply this. What is going to be the subject and the focus of this 25th anniversary? It's very surreal when something that you've grown up loving, appreciating, and in some respects actually feel drawn towards and feel like you're inspired, whether it be through the nature of how the story is done or what the character represents to you as a person and as a gamer. And I feel like with Sonic in general, I feel like his character has remained intact for this last quarter century. He's still the hedgehog with attitude. He's still snarky. But at the very core of his character is a person with a heart of gold. He doesn't like anything that represents a threat to freedom, to the basic negativity of the world, which Dr. Robotnik is a physical manifestation of, because Robotnik wants things to be like a dictatorship. He wants to say how your life should be. Mike Pollock makes it comedic and entertaining with the way that he, tries to set nefarious traps to put Sonic out of the way so that he can then have the world as he sees it. But Sonic's like, lol, you're not going to have it that way. And then there's also this. One of the things that has been circulating on the internet like wildfire, particularly in these last few years. I mean, with Sonic Boom being worse than Sonic 360, which is something I've thought nobody would ever admit. But people that have played the game have said 06 wasn't so bad. I'm like, wow. That's a page turner. So Sonic Unleashed was originally dubbed Sonic World Adventure, and in some respects, it is an adventure-styled game. And in some respects, Sonic 360 had elements that kind of reflected what Sonic Adventure 1 had, with having multiple characters to choose from and different various stories to go through. But most people don't consider that as a sequel to Sonic Adventure 2, which was released on June 23, 2001. So, for perspective, it's been 15 years since that 10th anniversary game. And a lot has changed in that time. I mean, we now have YouTube. Game movie cutscenes are almost like watching full-on movie feature animation cutscenes. People complain about the most nitpicky things in games now. Sega's a very different company from back in the day, and particularly even when DLC became a thing like 07, 08, to just the way that things get leaked now. And when we see these little teasers show up on the internet, with this being, such a monumental occasion for Sonic the Hedgehog, we've heard little to nothing from Sega in regards to what is going to be the product for this year, what is going to be the strategy and the focus. Because normally, most corporations and gaming studios struggle to keep, actually struggle to not tell, people what's going on. But on this occasion, we've heard nothing. There have been some rumors that it is going to be Sonic Adventure 3 with multiple characters playable, including Styx, the Badger, with one of her key fighting arsenals being that she throws boomerangs. And apparently this is what has happened at game testers that go in, and because Sega come in and basically pay a bunch of a couple of gamers just to play the game, see what they think, see what flaws they can iron out, this, that. Wouldn't be surprised if the camera feature is still a buggy issue for a Sonic game, but it's been that way since '99. I don't think Sega are going to be able to iron the problem out anytime soon, although 2.5D is a major help. A lot of people have said it's a decent game from what they've played, but we've seen no cut footage. There's no trailer. There's not even any concept art or images. So on that particular aspect of the rumors that are going around, I think until we actually see something concrete and something we can actually pin down and say, yep, this looks legit, this looks like the way we're going to be getting it, until we see something, take it for what it is and take it with with the tiniest pinch of salt. The only one good thing about the other good thing is apparently this is not going to be connected up with Sonic Boom, even though it's supposedly got Styx the Badger in. I've not played Sonic Boom personally, but people that have played it have said, "No, stay away from it. No. You don't want to play this. It's like it will ruin your perception of Sonic the Hedgehog." It's like, dude, I've played Sonic Spinball and Sonic 360. Do your worst. People say, "Why do you hate Spinball?" It's like, okay, it's like I played it. It's like I went in, I played it, I didn't like it, nothing has changed. But then again, I question some people that don't like Sonic R. It's like, it's Sonic in a game where he's racing his friends. What is not to like? But that's another story. What I would like to see done for a 25th anniversary celebration, I would like to see Sonic Adventure 3. It's one of those little things. I think Sega... One particular thing Sega's not really good at doing straight away is actually really taking in... when I say fan criticism, I mean genuine fans that constructively analyze and actually say their piece on, this works okay in the game, but these two sections and components don't work with the game. You need to take that out and put something that's a little bit more coherent, or something that keeps the momentum going, rather than put something in that's just padding for the sake of padding. And not fans, let's dust off those Dr. Evil quotes, fans that will complain this wasn't in this particular game. Sega go to put in the game, then they complain that it is in the game. I'm just going to say this right now. Those are not real fans. Those are people causing trouble for the sake of causing trouble. Real fans are ones who will look at what they're given, constructively criticize it, because they know the game can be done better. Fans that outright praise a product, whether it be TV show, movie, video game, or a music album, and just say it's absolutely flawless, there are no poor qualities of it whatsoever. If you happen to have a product of what you're into that is genuinely flawless, then good for you. But 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work that way. And the ones who are very honest and very blunt, they constructively criticize it because they care enough to speak up and say something about what they love, because, again, they know it can be done better. And, the Sonic the Hedgehog fan community is... It's an interesting place. At the core of it, there are a group of people and like-minded individuals that know that Sega can actually produce a decent quality Sonic game. Just look at Sonic Generations, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure 1, or even go back as far as Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's like the fans know that Sega are capable of presenting a product. May not be, crystal clear, perfect, but they know that they can present something that's good enough where they can look at it on the table and go, all right, this has some minor issues, but I could come back and replay this for quite a few days, weeks, maybe even a year, and still find some enjoyment. Yet you'll look at something like Sonic 360, Sonic Boom, Spinball, and people are like, no, just no. I'll probably get a lot of flack for this, but I could happily replay 2005's Shadow the Hedgehog, with a lot of fond replay, because I found it to be, a breath of fresh air as far as and this is something I need to address, and this is something that I've said in the past on various forums, various posts on Facebook, Twitter, and in Blue Reflections. Shadow the Hedgehog is not a Sonic game. It is a Sonic-related game, yes. But last time I checked, Sonic is, I suppose he's just supporting character / cameo character in the game, in that he's just there as a less irritating version of Omochao, for lack of a better description. The only difference is, with Sonic, he'll say something that has rhyme and reason to what he's saying, but he's doing it in a way whereby you could actually take it seriously. With Omochao, you're just so eager to punch the thing because that character got so irritating in Sonic Adventure 2 and various other games in which that character was in. You're just like, okay, go away, go away, go away, go away. I know Randy will love this. Like, go away from the flats. If you ever see the Harry Hill show back in the day, that little reference will make sense to you. But, if you're not familiar with that, just nod, smile politely, and we'll just, calmly move on. Like I say, I could play Shadow and be really chill with it, because Shadow the Hedgehog took a lot of different directions and a lot of risks because the fact Sega were stepping out of their comfort zone, and it's one of the few games where the player has the option in which way of dictating where the story will go. If you follow Sonic's advice, you tend to go down this path which leads to one ending. If you go down the neutral path where you're just looking for answers to why you have this amnesia, you end up going down that particular path. If you end up helping robotic, good lord, why would you want to do such a thing? You end up going down this dark path. Which, again, knock Sega for many of things that they've done, but they're always trying something new. They're always looking to think, okay, we've done story scenario from angles A, G, and T, but let's look at it, see how we can do from angle X, B, and J. I use letters as an example because it's just to give somebody an image in their mind of, angle J might be something from a romantic perspective. Angle X will be something from a really extreme hostile situation. And angle B will be something where you're looking at things from a lateral thought and just looking to weigh up the situation logically. So that's why whenever I say, let's try this from angles D, T, and M, they're just representations of different ways of looking at a situation of where a story will go. That's why I use letters. Could Shadow have been better? Oh, yeah. No denial whatsoever. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Do I think it deserves a sequel? Absolutely. Sonic Heroes was another one that the idea in principle and on paper was sound. I mean, the idea of being able to play as a team of 3, but then switch to different team members at the touch of a button and have different control functions, I think, again, very innovative on Sega's part. How it was executed, however, Heroes is a guilty pleasure. That's all I'm going to say on that one. And as meant, and 06, said my piece. I will be covering it briefly on the 25 retrospect. I'm going to keep it as brief as possible when I get to that particular thing. Now, Sonic Unleashed. Let's talk Unleashed a second. Again, this is another one where Sega tried something new. Is it anything particularly new that's been done in video games and movies before? No. No, 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 no. But for a Sonic game, yeah, it was something very different and very unique. I would have liked to have seen how Sonic actually got to the point where he's on Robotnik's space fleet, for lack of a better description, in the opening cut footage, before the emeralds are forcibly removed from him, and then the negative power of the emeralds is used, which then brings out this much more feral being in Sonic, which became known as the Werehog. But wouldn't it have made more sense to call him the Wolf Hog, since were means man? So by calling Sonic a Werehog, he would just become just a human with hedgehog characteristics. I'm just putting that out there because that's what that's what the word means. I don't know. In terms of how that game was done, I absolutely loved it. With Sega having done developing the Hedgehog engine for that game, let me just get into the loading screens, because everyone knows with 06 that that was just down to poor, shoddy programming that they really should have beta tested. Whereas with the Hedgehog engine, okay, there were loading screens, but I think at most you ended up waiting 8-10 seconds, if that, going from sandbox into a game, and then end of a level to cutscene, and then cutscene to progression to the next level. I think it was no more than 10 seconds, which again is a huge improvement. And the story was very simple in some respect. Robotnik shatters the earth looking for the power of Gaia and looking to build Eggman Land at Lawrence. I'm like, he's got an obsession with building his own empire plus amusement park. Maybe he should have been an amusement park architect, because he does seem to like building these wacky structures and whatnot. I know the commander. I'm not saying his real name out loud, but he's also a huge Legend of Zelda fan. I don't know. I know he's kind of listening in on this. It would have been sort of interesting to see, I don't know, appearing at Universal Studios, we've got the Eggman Land experience with all these wacky and colorful interpretations of different Sonic levels and whatnot. That'd actually be interesting, actually. But I'd actually like to hear that. Universal, if you're listening on this, come on, we want an Eggman Land for real. In terms of the way that Unleashed went, particularly with the day levels, where you'd have 2.5D, where it's a nod to the side-scrolling aspect of Sonic from the earlier years, but with a slight emphasis on 3D, it made for a decent gaming experience. I've yet to play too many other Sonic games that really matched the quality of what that game produced. And I don't know why people narked on the Werehog in terms of the way the night segments were done, because I found it to be a nice stress reliever. picture the scene. You've had a long day. You've had to listen to customers, um, on customer service lines, whether you're working for an electronics retail store or you work for insurance. It's irrelevant. You've been on the customer hotline all day. You're agitated. You're cranky. You're tired. You think, I'm going to go have a couple of levels on the werehog. It's a nice stress reliever because you're going it down, bashing down doors, walls, enemies in front of you. And by the end of it, you feel not exhilarated, but you feel refreshed, relieved. You've got the frustration out of your system. And again, it's something new, new for Sega. It's something new that they tried for Sonic, and people still complained. If the werehog was something that had been done that was just so point blank ridiculous, then I could understand. But it was something. I like to think of some way Sonic represented in the game. He's almost like a physical manifestation of the yin yang symbol. One is light, one is dark. One is day, one is night. And in this case, werehog representing the night, but the more brutal side of what Sonic could represent if he had that kind of strength. And the day representing the more calm, level-headed nature, but still, having his lighter side of his personality where, he just wants to have fun. So, but even then, even when Sonic got this slightly more bashful, and in terms of physicality, bashful side of his personality, he's still able to keep some semblance of logic to what he's doing, which I thought was a nice duality of what we were looking for from the game. And then of course we get Sonic Generations. Now a lot of people's like, ooh, nostalgia. I'm like, you're playing a 20th anniversary game and you're not expecting nostalgia. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go over to this corner where people, have common sense and have logic about them. Not hating, just calling it like I see it. I think the way that game was done, the only major issues that I have with Sonic Generations is it could have been longer. I just felt for the amount of zones that we were given for that game, 6 was just too little. I don't know. I like the way that Green Hill was reimagined for the modern, but faithfully redone for the classic, and just the way that there were some enhancements done to the 16-bit version. Excuse me. The way that the originals were remixed so that you can still very much recognize it, but you can notice there's some little differences that's actually making it more enjoyable. I found there could have been more zones from the 16-bit era that could have been included. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was glad Green Hill was brought back, because I think to do an anniversary Sonic game without that zone, it's just not something worth thinking about. I would have liked to have seen Emerald Hill be included, but then somebody would come in and chime in and say, but you've already got Green Hill. But, to each their own. And of course, the thing that gets me is they said, oh, we're entering the Dreamcast era with Sonic Heroes. I'm like, shouldn't that have been more of the open era? Because that's when Sonic was on so many multiple consoles. I say consoles because to me, a platform is what you're jumping from A to B from. But, that's just me. I like to stick with things that work. I like the way that Heroes was done for the game, but it's another one of those. There were more levels from different respective eras of Sonic that could have been put in, but they didn't. There are some things I would love to see done if Sonic Adventure 3 is what they're going to go with. Number one, and Commander, I know you're listening to this, but this has to be said. Can we please not make Knuckles a dumbass anymore? I just don't know what it is. But in the last, 3 to 4 years, that character is a joke. I don't really understand Sega's thought process about this. I don't know. For a character that came in 94, debuting in Sonic 3, and to be fair, Knuckles had a really strong presence in the series originally, coming in as Sonic's rival, matching Sonic in combat, but when it came to speed aspects, Knuckles was just that little bit, couple of steps just behind him. Particularly if those that followed the Sonic the Comic Fleetway publication back in the 90s, Knuckles was billed as his match in a fight, but when it comes to speed, he just wasn't there. In terms of the redesign of Knuckles, I get the point of, for a character that's meant to be that strong, it makes sense to give him these physical attributes that, actually makes sense, rather than looking at the body frame that he has and think, wait, you're supposed to be like the Hulk of the series, yet you've got this frame that says you can't do it. If they had gone with an explanation that was offered, say, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where she does this training where she's able to match opponents, with decent physicality and strength, but she doesn't lose her mobility, then I could see that making sense with Knuckles. But given that the character's built for strength and not speed, it does make sense to build him up just that little bit more. I'd rather see the character being more naive, due to the fact he's not had much contact with the outside world. Whereas in Sonic Boom, he's obviously been in contact with people for a while, and the guy is as dumb as a box of rocks. The other things I'd like to see done, it's getting a little bit old now, with Amy Rose being this official stalker of Sonic in the series. And I think most fans have been saying since 93, if he didn't say yes to any kind of request from her back then. What makes it going to be believable to do that now? It's one of those things where I'd like to see the franchise and the story move with the times a little bit. You know, Amy as a character, when she's focusing on other things, she's actually quite redeemable. But it's just the way that they've got her in the games. It's just like, yeah, okay, this is getting a little bit old now. In Sonic Boom, you know, one of the few redeeming things about Amy Rose is the fact that there are more flaw. There are, you know, she is a flawed character, but there's more dimensions to her character. And the way that Cindy Robinson is portraying her in that particular story is she's actually a proper character rather than, you know, I hope Sonic Senpai notices me. You know, because again, that's just getting real old now. Tails, I don't think he really needs any changes done to him because he's one of those characters. He is somewhat of a Gary Stu in some respects, not a huge amount, but it's just the way that he's able to figure some things out so quickly. Now, some would argue it's like, yeah, but he's just that clever. Granted, you get some people at young ages whereby they are able to figure things out, you know, as opposed to someone who's 3 times their age and not be able to see the line in the sand or be able to see the working mechanics of how they got to the result that they got to. But it's just the, I don't know. And then, of course, what is the story going to be? If we're going to follow the adventure format, you know, because it's been 17 years. It will be 17 years this October since Sonic Adventure was released in the Western world. And you notice a theme throughout the years. The first game, Robotnik uncovers the stone tablets of how to bring Chaos the Water Demon out of his prison in the Master Emerald so that Robotnik can lay waste to Station Square and build Robotnik Land. I mean, the fact that he's still wanted that thing so many years later, I mean, I don't know. And then Sonic Adventure 2 is still going for this theme of still wanting to rule the world and have his own, you know, land to himself. But there's still that apocalyptic theme with Adventure 2. With the idea of the space colony arc supposedly crashing into the Earth. Because in the first game, it's Chaos that literally lays waste to Station Square, and it just requires Supersonic to literally neutralize the darkness in Chaos in order to stop it. But it just means Station Square is still left in ruins. I'm guessing it's just up to the people there just to be able to start rebuilding it, which they do kind of elaborate on in Sonic X, which is one of the very few good things about that train wreck of a series, which the humanoid cartoon A-Log, you know, has gone on record so many times of saying that 4Kids handled that show very cheaply. I'm inclined to agree. I suppose if I want anything out of a story for SA3 is come up with something original, but do it in a way whereby it's going to have that same replay value from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. SA1 is an absolutely brilliant game from a sandbox perspective. Being able to interact with citizens of Station Square and be able to complete various challenges, whereas SA2 is all about speed. Um, City Escape being a prime example. The various levels on Space Colony Arc. I've seen people do speed runs on that thing, and ugh, you get dizzy just by watching it. I'm kind of hoping, in terms of mechanics and camera angles, they keep the theme that was adopted from Sonic Unleashed going into Sonic Colors and then Sonic Generations, where, particularly for side scrolling, it's side scrolling, but there's an slight emphasis of 3D, but not taking away from a pleasant gaming experience, which I think, like I say, Sega took on board very well, because anybody who's ever played Sonic Adventure 1 will know that the camera is an absolute idiot throughout that game. And I still don't understand why they couldn't have made that game a little bit more polished, but that's a story for another time. I don't know. One angle, if they are going to do this, I'd like to see what could happen if Sonic actually faced his greatest challenge and be able to go against a clone of himself. Now, some would argue that, oh, but that's done with Shadow. The thing is, Shadow's actually a good character. He's just an anti-hero. I'd actually like to see Sonic face an antithesis of himself. You know, he's matched for everything in skill, powers, abilities, but this time, when you actually look at the clone, for lack of a better word, you know, this character would just be cold, remorseless. You know, really make an antithesis. And for those listening, no, not Sonic.exe. I don't want Sega to go, you know, that sadistic for that. I'd like to see it as a clone whereby it makes a choice to be the bad guy, rather than a situation whereby it's like a virus or reprogramming that's made that particular character go in that direction. You know, I'd like to see you know, Sonic 2.0, or I don't know. Let's call it, you know, Velocity, for lack of a better name. Look at what Sonic represents and then think to himself, this guy has the power and the potential to rule the world and have people bow to him, but he chooses to represent the people and protect them rather than harness this power for himself. And then that character thinks, well, if you're not going to make these people kneel before you, I'm going to do it. And then Sonic's tasked with be like, hey, what you're doing's kind of screwed up. I actually want to stop you now. Because Sonic wouldn't be facing an anti-hero like Shadow. He wouldn't be facing a robotic doppelganger. He would be facing a genetic clone of himself, matched in everything for speed, appearance, even thinking, because obviously the character's a clone of him. But where Sonic has a, you know, to quote the song, a steadfast heart of gold, Velocity, in terms of a metaphor, Velocity has no heart. basically imagine Robotnik if he was in Sonic's body, which I think has been done a couple of times in various comic publications throughout the world. I don't know of any specific, but if you do know, comment section below, let me know. I like Jeremy Jahns. That man is awesome. Awesome-tacular. Yeah. Sonic Adventure 3. Shattered Reflections or Hedgehog Reflections. Yeah, I could see that working. So yeah, that's pretty much covered my viewpoint and the rumors that have been going around as to what SA3 could be. And it's just, like I say, it's just so weird that Sega is just being so tight-lipped. But given the circumstances of which they have found themselves in financially, because Sega, don't get me wrong, I love them. I really do. Some of my favorite games from back in the day are from Sega, but one thing they seem to have a nasty habit of throughout history is making bad business decisions. Those that are young enough to remember will remember, I think it was the Mr. Samurai marketing commercials, which cost Sega a lot of money. And I mean, a lot of money. That's why the Saturn tanked. Oh. But a couple of years later, it gave us the Dreamcast, so I'm not complaining from that particular aspect. I don't know, folks. Make of it what you will. I've given my thoughts. Let me know on my Twitter page, because I'm at the MJ Knight on Twitter. Let me know what you think about the the 25th anniversary rumors. What your thoughts on how it's going to go forward, how it's not going to go forward, what you would like to see, what you think you will see, and what you don't want to see. Yeah. This is MJ Knight signing off from this hangout, and have yourselves a good evening. Good night from the night.